independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
Oh, that right there is Donald Trump. About Epstein. And we'll touch on this throughout the day, but look, do I think Acosta is going to go? The guy that everybody's calling for his head?
I am calling on Secretary Acosta to resign. It is now impossible for anyone to have confidence in Secretary Acosta's ability to lead the Department of Labor. If he refuses to resign, President Trump should fire him.
I think he will go. I think the pressure's on, but something that's not being talked about in this entire wacky lunacy is how it got to this situation, that it should never even have gotten to Acosta. Never should have gotten to him. You had a guy, Barry Christian, who was the person that should have been handling all of this. You had a police chief, Michael Reitner, a detective, Joseph Ricari, who had been investigating, who'd been going hard. And when Christian found out what was going on, he said, we got to go and get this person. When he found out who it was, everything changed. If it wasn't for Acosta, even though he should have gone harder, this guy wouldn't have done an ounce of jail originally. He's going to go to jail forever. But he wouldn't have done anything. But at some point in time, looks in the media can kill, and it is falling on you. And nobody cares. Here's the thing. Nobody ever cares about the real story, the whole story. They care about what they want to affirm and what the headline says. Outside of that, nobody cares about anything else. I don't want the details. I don't even want the Cliff Notes version. I want the one sheet. Right? Just tell me the one sheet. I don't even want to watch the entire movie trailer or the movie. I just want the 30-second commercial on TV, and I'll make up my mind from there. He should have gone away for a very long time, and Acosta will pay the price for it. But other people were involved. Other people skated. Other people saw who this person was. And there's something else when we talk about something like this, and this is something I think that needs to be brought up. In a world of black and white, brown and white, whatever, we want to say, the reality is it's rich and poor when it comes to the legal world. Green will get you things. You can buy things that other people can't buy. From a massive team to defend you, to publicity, to even special favors along the way that keep you from doing other things, like real time. Get your own wing, like he did. Have your own private protection, like he did. This is it. Think about this for a second. Barry Christian here, right? This guy that was supposed to be going after him, this guy that was supposed to be coming hard, this guy that was supposed to be, here he comes, man, it's DA, he's coming hard, he's going to do all this stuff. This guy didn't want anything to do with this, kicked it down the curb, said, no, I don't believe what they're saying. They're saying, these accusers, I don't believe them. We're going to send it to a grand jury. This guy spent 3 years going after Rush Limbaugh and wanted no part of this. Whether you like Limbaugh or not. Really? Yeah. But Acosta's going to go. And everybody's going to try to draw, I heard yesterday when I said, well, when I tried to explain to people, look, rich people run in circles. You've met, right? Trump's met this guy. Clinton's met this guy. You run in circles. I don't think any of them have done anything, but Acosta's going to pay the price because at some point in time, the pressure from the media, whether or not it's truth or not, whether or not it's fair or not, is going to oust this guy. That's the reality of this. And he may very well deserve it because, you know what? He did get off easier than he should have. They sealed it. They did all of those things But it was also something he should never have been involved with. But we won't hear the rest of that story. It's not a conspiracy. It's the reality of it. He's going to do jail time as he should have done. And he'll probably never see the light of day. But a lot of people turned a blind eye, and it shows you in so many ways what power can do. If you have the money, you can influence the power to protect you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. USA, USA, USA.
Do what you have to do. Step outside yourself. Be more, be better, be bigger than you've ever been before. If this team is any representation of what you can be when you do that, please take this as an example.
Yeah. So they had their ticker tape parade today. I thought it'd be a lot bigger, but you know what am I going to say? You know what? I always thought ticker tape, there'd be all this ticker tape flowing down, but that's not really. And you know what? I watched some of it today, and here's my takeaway from I'm stoked we won. All great. Again, I don't think they're very lovable. I was talking to my friend earlier today, Lisa, who is a woman, by the way, who identifies and is a cisgendered, naturally born woman. And her and I were chatting, and she said to me, you know, I can't stand her, and they're not likable. And I said, I get that. They're not likable. And this whole thing, right, is once again one of those situations where as I'm watching this thing break down, it reminds me that we live in this world now where everything has to be us versus them. And it's sad because the U.S. men's national team, which sucked, they failed. They failed to qualify for the last World Cup. By the way, if they would have qualified for the last World Cup, at best, maybe a quarterfinal. Probably, realistically, they'd be lucky to get out of the group. Depends, it's all luck of the draw and things like that. Men's game is, again, so much deeper. So much tougher. And the men are starting so much further behind the eight ball than the women have. But it's become us versus them. And I was telling the guys, you know how it's become us versus them? Because have you heard a lot of the men's national team come out and do a lot of stuff about them? Talk a lot about them? No. They've been villainized as if they're some bad guys and that they suck. And that they're horrible, and it's turned it us versus them, us versus. And I just sit there and I'm like, geez, from yesterday, you've got Meghan McCain, who, by the way, is just, when I think sports and I think soccer, I think, wow, there's nobody who knows more about it than this lady. I mean, she brings it, talking about how horrible the guys are, how bad, and I just sit there and where they suck and and I'm just like, my God, really? Is this the thing that we've become, right? Is this what we've become? And you make it an us versus them scenario.
I can't name one male player, and I think we can all name several female players at this point because they've all become stars. So I think it's just straight sexism. Yeah. And it's that simple. Sorry, I don't follow soccer. I started following this because obviously America was doing so well, but they're not even a blip. The men's team didn't even qualify. Again, they didn't even qualify for the World Cup because that's how much they suck.
Turn it to us versus them. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened. Us versus them. And it shouldn't be that way. Right? Quite frankly, I don't think the men care what they get paid, the women or the guys. They're doing their own thing. Right? And you want your national team to do well. And I'm sure they're kind of stoked, but they've been made out to be the bad guys. And that's not a winning formula, again, for success. And quite frankly, they suck. You got Snoop Dogg coming out today because we got to talk about pay, right? It's all about pay. Everything's about pay. It's got to be about pay. So when he comes out and he's just like, man, they should all get paid what they get paid. And I just like, again, the frustration level of it shouldn't be us versus them. But that's what this new wave of, to me, that they call the third wave of feminism, is that's what it's set up to be. And watching that today, that's what I felt like. It was like, man, we could talk about how bad the men's team is. Well, if they're so bad, why do we even have a men's team? Right? Maybe we shouldn't. Should only focus on a few things. We'll just pour all the money into the women's. Maybe that'd be better. Would everybody be happy with that? No, come on. Realistically, no. I'll tell you this. The men won the World Cup. That ticker tape parade be 10 times as much. The men started so far behind. Well, how is that possible, Chad? Because we're going up against nations that have been playing the game for 100 years, and we haven't been serious about it except really starting in the mid-'80s. We encourage girls to play. Women's soccer around the world is in its infancy, but our girls have been playing the same amount of time as men have been playing because we've encouraged it.
Shout out to the USA women's soccer team for their 4th World Cup. But what I want to talk about is they only get $90,000 per player. But the men, if they win it, they get $500,000 per player. The sorry men from the U.S. soccer team ain't ever won, gonna ever win, can't even get out the round. Man, pay them ladies, man. Pay them girls what they worth. The women should be getting $500,000 per athlete. Snoop Dogg says so.
All right, and I'm going to have to explain this to everybody again. The United States Soccer Federation has zero to do with how much money the women get paid for winning the World Cup. Zero. Nothing. That money comes from a different organization. It's prize money. The United States Soccer Federation doesn't put up the prize money. Another group does. They're called FIFA. They put up the prize money, and that's what it was, based on revenue. Based on the amount of money brought in. And they get a bigger percentage than the men do. But it doesn't matter because the narrative's out there. Just like I was talking about with Acosta, just like we can hear about when we talk about immigration, all this stuff. All you need today is a snapshot of something, a one sheet. Find the thing that you believe to be true that fits the narrative, and that's all that you need. You will repeat nothing else. Because all that matters is you think your side has won something. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Do love hearing from you. A sad, tragic death yesterday. I absolutely loved Rip Torn, and he passed away yesterday. If you don't know who he was on the Larry Sanders Show. He was a hilarious actor. He's Men in Black. He was in all kinds of stuff, but he was on the Larry Sanders Show. And he was the guy that was Larry's right-hand man, his Gelman, and he was just hilarious.
You got to be very careful when you accuse a friend of stealing money because many years ago I was in New York with Lenny Bruce, and he accused me of taking $50 from him, and it turned very ugly, and I popped him.
You know, you've told me this story before, and you took the money.
That may be.
He was great. He had some issues in the last few years, but it was just he made me laugh. Defending Your Life, you got to watch him in that. It's amazing. And I was like, oh man, Rip Torn, what a great name, Rip Torn. I was totally going to choose that. That's a great name right there, Rip Torn. He had he actually struggled in the mid '90s, and Larry Sanders, Gary Shanley saved him because Dennis Hopper went on television one night and told a story of how Rip Torn did all these things to him, fight him, got a machete and tried to do stuff, only to find out that was a lie. But once again, it had gotten out there that that's what happened. Dennis Hopper had to pay him $1 million for saying those things on television and doing those things and apologize. But by then, the damage was done. Because remember, once that damage is done, rarely does it get fixed. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hey, you have debt out there and it's on your credit cards and you're paying too much interest. 19%'s the average. That's insane. Stop it. Lightstream's here. They're going to help you. They got a credit card consolidation loan from as little as 5.95%, from $5,000 to $100,000. And in many cases, you get to money the same day. Think about that. Lightstream believes that people with good credit deserve better loan experience, and that's what they're going to deliver to you. And for my listeners out there, that's you guys, you can get a special interest rate discount. Go to lightstream.com/Benson. That's lightstream.com/Benson. They're going to treat you amazing. It is incredible what they're going to do. Save yourself money. Start putting some of that money to work for you rather than pay off stuff that you bought God knows how long ago. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offers subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. Chad Benson Show.
Brains? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
We were having a really deep discussion a little while ago, and I just tweeted out. I don't know, because I've only seen the trailer. But if The Lion King is all CGI, in a weird way, isn't it still just animation? Right? Like, because the whole thought process, like, I saw the trailer for Mulan. By the way, of all of these Disney movies and all the retelling of them, you know, going from, you know, cartoons to live action, the only one that looks half-ass appealing to any of them is Mulan. Mulan looks like a really interesting movie, right? But I saw this, and I'm like, it just feels like it's just a better animation, newer animation. I don't know. And for those of you not keeping score, Mulan is the deadliest character in all of the Disney archives. She kills a lot of people. I don't know if it's going to be in this, right? But I'm just throwing it out there. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Speaking of immigration, they're talking about raids. I don't know if they're going to happen or not, but we're going to talk a bit about that. I spoke earlier today to Congressman Andy Biggs about immigration and this craziness, and it is insane that we can't get anything done because for whatever reason, it's just nuts. It boggles my mind that we continue to see the same people. And I saw Tulsi Gabbard came out and said she agrees with Justin Amash. And about that, you know, the two-party system's broken. And we do need a strong third party. We need a strong third party more than we've ever needed anything in politics right now. To break the gridlock and I think to move us forward in a better way. And that might be the saving grace for us. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Ken Cuccinelli, acting director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, told reporters today at the White House that raids on the undocumented immigrant population in the U.S. will absolutely happen. President Trump put on hold his threat of ICE operations, but his deadline expired over the weekend.
They're absolutely going to happen. There's approximately 1 million people in this country with removal orders. Of course, that isn't what ICE will go after in this, but that's the pool of people who've been all the way through the due process chain.
Cuccinelli does not work at ICE. His role is to oversee legal immigration.
Let me ask you a question, though. Shouldn't we want that, right? Like, if there's 1 million removal orders, what that means is either they've showed up for a hearing and they were denied. Sorry, I know you've been here 3.5 years. You came here, you laid out your case, but according to what we have asylum-wise, you do not qualify for asylum in this country, so you must leave. Or they just never showed up. Overstayed their visa, whatever it is. Damn skippy. We should want them out, right? Like, I mean, that's at some point in time, whether you say it's not criminal, it is criminal, whatever it is, the law's being broke. It's time for you to go. Time for you to go. Time for you to go. Will other people be swept up in this? Yes. Will we hear about it? Yes. Because that's all that we do anymore is we hear about stuff. They paint a picture. It's such a snapshot. Remember that what you see on television is just a snapshot, and it's meant to what? To evoke an emotion, to affirm your belief. So you're going to go somewhere that's either going to affirm your belief or you're going to hear something that's going to evoke an emotion, anger, because they want to stir the pot. I watch morning sports People say, who do you like to listen to or watch? I said, you know what? When I have a chance, I'll watch Colin Cowherd. I like him. He's not there to argue, right? He's fun. He's interesting. I think he's the best talk show host, period. Case closed. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. And because I think he's thoughtful and insightful, and sometimes he gets it wrong. But the rest of the morning shows, for all intents and purposes, minus like a Dan Patrick, are all the same, right? You can go, but the difference is, like on MSNBC, I can tell you what they're going to talk about tomorrow. Morning Joe is going to be the same thing it is every day. They're going to bring out Joe Scarborough. They're going to bring out Mrs. Scarborough. They're going to get a bunch of people from the Atlantic and from New York Times and the Donnie Deutsches of the world and people who've written books, and it's all going to be groupthink with very little, 95% negativity on Trump or any of his policies. The one thing I can say about the sports shows is they just say, hey, we got two strong personalities, throw the red meat out there, let them fight over it. I'm going to give you my numbers. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm going to do these kind of things. But at least it's something where you're getting a comeback. And a lot of times what you find is they agree in certain areas, right? Like whether it's Shannon and Skip Bayless or, I'm not a big fan of Stephen A. Smith. However, and Max Kellerman, they'll agree in some things and they'll totally disagree in others. But at least you're hearing both sides of something. And it's debatable because you can debate all day in sports, because a lot of it's just theory, like, oh, Jordan's the greatest player of all time. No, Wilt is. No. But it's still, at least you're getting something. Where in politics and all these things, their only thing is, you hear something, usually it's cut off with zero perspective, and then away they go and the fight's on. So you got to always keep that in mind. Right. For me, I look at this and do I think some people are going to be caught up in this? Yes, and they will be. And then we'll hear the stories and AOC and everybody else. And they love AOC because AOC gives them the thing on the left that's more entertaining than what Nancy and them and Chuck Schumer give. So she can evoke an emotion and she can rile. Could you imagine her? By the way, her and Donald Trump, whether she wants to believe it or not, or he wants to, when it comes to their public persona, take away the money and the right and the left, they are very similar. That's why they make great foils for each other when they battle. They're very similar. They're going to go at each other. It makes me laugh. Good. Do it. Right? But at least give both sides of an argument. That's the thing we don't ever hear. And that's the thing. God, I should be running a show, right? I'll just do it. I'll run it and we'll go from there. All right, write that down. Crazy. We all love. Here's a perfect example of crazy. This is a guy who goes into a bagel shop. And how we get to this point, I'm not quite sure. I will say this. He's trending. I saw Joe Pesci trending and I thought, is he, because anytime you see, yesterday was James Earl Jones. I thought, oh, is he dead? And then today was Joe Pesci. And I'm like, is he dead? Because anytime you see somebody's name, it's like, oh, they've got to be dead. So this guy goes into a bagel shop and we pick it up in the midst of his anger. And I will say this, he's not a tall man, is what I'm trying to say.
Why is it okay for women to say, oh, you're 5 feet on dating sites? You should be dead? That's okay?
Who said that to you here? Nobody.
Women in general have said it on dating sites. You think I'm making that up? Everywhere I go, I get the same smirk with the biting lip. Shut your mouth. You're not God or my father or my boss. Dude, you want to step outside? You want to step outside? Huh? I'm not scared of you, pal. I know.
Now, I'm just going to tell you, from here on out, he is looking a man in the eyes. And I say looking at him in the eyes because the reality is, while he is not a tall man, right? Probably goes about 5 foot, 5'2", whatever. The guy he's talking to, you can tell, is, even for a normal person, a 5'10" person, a very tall man. And this guy's berated enough people, and now he's talking about going outside.
You shut up, too. You shut the up. Go ahead and attack me.
Oh, my God. I just bagels. I recorded the whole thing.
Yeah. Crazy. And look, you never know what happens all the way through. This is one of the perfect example. We see a small 38-second view. It's on Twitter. It starts, tweeting, and next thing you know, it's trending and all these kind of stuff, and people are making fun of it. But a perfect example of how one thing can go from 0 to 1,000 overnight. Now it's at 1 million, quadrillion, and you start asking yourself, did he have a bad day? Did something happen? We don't know the entire story, and I'm sure we'll hear a bit of a story, then we'll hear another story, and then we'll get a different perspective, and then you put the picture together. But, man, that big dude took him down. I mean, he hammered him. It looked like one of those tackling dummies, and the dude fell straight to the floor. The guy gets it just totally near naked chokehold, rear naked chokehold, and it was good night now. Oh, my God, it's just got to suck. It does. It does. We film it. It's our thing, man. That is our thing. That is it. Doesn't matter. We take it out. Something happens. Years ago, our first response would be, oh, should I help? Can I be something? Now our first response is, I better get my phone and see if I can live stream this. No, don't call 911. I got to get the shot. I got to get the shot. Don't call 911. What are you thinking? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Speaking of phones and technology,
and they are paid to help raise your child to be phone-free. One woman runs a network of 500 coaches that includes a training system. They charge $80 in smaller cities, up to $250 in larger ones. Screen consultants come into homes or schools to kind of remind parents how people parented before the smartphone. Their recommendations include such innovative ideas like movement, including playing or painting.
Or going outside.
Some suggest a lifestyle change, like getting an animal that children can spend time with. Good luck, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to remind everybody who's like, wow, kids should do more. We did more because we had to. That's why. My best friend Ray and Kenny, I was their YouTube. They were my YouTube. We didn't have the technology. And what little technology we had, let's be real, I explained this to my son Jack the other day. Because we were at like a nickel thing a couple months ago, and we were still talking about this the other day. He's still fascinated because this is a really cool place down in San Diego where you pay to get in, and then you kind of have unlimited games in one area, and then you got to pay for the other games in the other area. The unlimited games are games that I grew up with, right? It's Dragon's Lair, it's Centipede. You don't have to do anything. You just go and play them. There's no money going in. And there's a giant Pong game. And he was fascinated, because he looks at our generation like we look at Little House in the Prairie. It's like, how did you survive? How did you survive? Like, what was the process like? But at the same time, he's jealous of our generation, as a lot of kids are. So when he was out visiting with me, because we live in a little bit more rural area, he's got all this freedom to do things that he can't do at his house. And he loved that, He's like, well, can we all go around the block? I'm like, I don't care. No, go, yeah. I mean, can we do all of the, and it was just things that he just can't do, whether his mom doesn't let him or he just can't do it, whatever it is, the area. And he's like, was this what it was like when you were a kid? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But how many of us watch TV? Phil, when you were younger, you had a TV, obviously, because we're about the same age. You watched TV as a kid, am I correct?
I did watch TV as a kid.
Yeah, and I'm sure you watched probably an hour or 2 or 3 hours a day if you could.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, see? No, it's no different. Right? The difference is they're on YouTube. The difference is, and this is something that we did stuff as a family unit sometimes. So we'd watch TV together. You may watch it and, get home after school, you do your homework and play a little bit and you turn on and you see a rerun of Brady Bunch or whatever, and you would watch it as a kid. But eventually there was no going to your room. And that's part of the thing I think it is people retire to their area of electronics. And that's it. I'm going to go to my area of electronics. But it's crazy. I was in IHOP a few months ago, and I look over and there's like a group of kids, like 10 of them, all having breakfast. And like these old people kind of give him a look because they're all on their phones sitting next to him. And I look over and I laugh at them because they're an older couple and she's reading a book and he's reading a newspaper. So they're laughing at them for being on their phones. All the while they're sitting there doing the exact same thing with just different stuff. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Love hearing from you. What do you think? Is an all CGI movie? That's still animation, right? Like they didn't train a bunch of lions for this movie. They didn't train a bunch of like wild herding beast and things of that nature for the Lion King. And so I asked the question earlier, isn't this kind of like still animation? Just better, cooler, more hip animation? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
I think the men's side of sports just in general is seen as this exciting opportunity, business opportunity that needs to be invested in. The women's is like, how cheap can we do this while, sort of keeping them happy, and what sort of incremental changes can we make, at each step to just kind of keep them at bay.
Megan Rapinoe right there talking about on Anderson Cooper last night. And look, some of that's kind of true, But you've got to understand that if you're going to make an investment in a situation where you're going to be taking your money and investing it into something, there is a risk. Is the reward worth it? Right? Is the reward worth it? Am I going to get out of it what I'm putting back into it? Not just for the betterment so everybody could feel better in the whole 9 yards. I see all these billionaires, all these people worth hundreds of millions of dollars coming out. Yeah, man, they should be paid more. Then invest. Buy a team. Right? Spend money. I still think in the end, and this is the product, you've got to think, as a woman athlete, in particular in a team sport, basketball, softball, soccer, you're competing not only against other players, you're also competing against a similar product that in many cases, if we're just honest with ourselves, is a better product. That's the reality of it. The WNBA is not as good as the NBA. That's it. Period. The National Women's Soccer League is not as good as the MLS, which is not as good as a lot of other leagues. That's the reality of what they face. And it's, we could sit here, we can argue and fight over the men, this, that, and the other. We can't turn it into us versus them because that doesn't solve problems, right? You haven't heard too many of the men's national team players come out with a whoop whoop and all these kind of things because they're getting demonized as that they're awful, they're horrible, they're bad. It's like it's their fault and you guys suck and you didn't make the World Cup. Realizing, and these women know, the uphill battle the men face is much bigger than anything they've ever faced. They're sitting on the mountaintop across the board with the amount of money we put into sports for girls here, even though it may be less comparatively to a lot of the other places around the globe. It's massive. And remember, and I'm going to break this down for you quickly. The women's national team players get $100,000 a year. $100,000. That's their contract. Contract, by the way, which they negotiated separate from the men's team. Do you know how much the men's players get? $5,000 a game, a bonus if you win. There's no guarantee. They make their money playing professionally. That's it. They make their money playing professionally. The women in the MLS and the National Women's Soccer League, $16,000 to $46,000 is what they make. Some places draw like $8,000, some places draw like $2,000, $1,500. Right? You're going to put money and you're going to lose. I mean, we just saw somebody try to take on the NFL and fail and lose hundreds of millions of dollars in the space of what? 6 weeks? 8 weeks? They didn't even finish the season. So you're competing with a lot of different things. Do I think on the face of it, you know what? If you guys want to negotiate a new contract, because you negotiated something on your own, so did the men. You're going to go to arbitration, sort it out yourself, fantastic. Do it. But let's be real here when it comes to certain things. You're pissed because you guys got X amount of dollars from not the United States Soccer Federation, from FIFA. The Men's World Cup made $6 billion. Yours made how many? 131 million? If that? Playing a majority of the games in half-empty stadiums? So, it's not just a singular thing. But yeah, on the surface of it, give them, fair across the board. But when it comes to prize money and other things, you can't blame that on the guys. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter, your Instagram. Get your pictures ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow is National Pet Day. Oh, you're going to see a lot of lizard pics. I'm just letting you know. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Epstein got an ultimatum. Plead guilty to a charge that would require jail time and registration, or face federal charges. And that was the week, more than 10 years ago, that Epstein went to jail.
Yeah, he went to jail. And jail, I use that loosely. You got to stay, I think, in the Dade County jail or whatever. I mean, he didn't... It was his own private wing, essentially, or an area that was kind of his. He got to hire his own private security. He was 16 hours a day out. I think he was out on the week. I mean, it was just, it was a joke. And it shows you the craziness of the world that we live in. And people can talk about race, they can talk about a lot of things. The one thing that everybody needs to talk about is when you've got cash, you get a lot more done. Better representation. You can get people to go after people, to find a quote-unquote loopholes, to tear people apart. So here's Alex Acosta, Labor Secretary, who came out today, and quite frankly, I thought he acquitted himself quite good, right? I think he did a good job. He's not going anywhere. He says, look, I'm not going anywhere. I should never even have been in this case, right? It shouldn't. There was another guy that had this case. Him and his assistants were all over it because the police chief and the detective said, we got all of this information. And they're like, we're going to put this guy away from Everett. And they said, it's this guy. And he said, no. Originally, he was going to plead guilty to a solicitation of prostitution. That was the original. The fact that he even did any time. And here's the other thing. They didn't know how many people were involved. Obviously, it's become much, much bigger. How many of these people that are coming forward now happened afterwards, right? But what they had in front of them, they thought, well, what about everybody and all the girls? Where were they? Why weren't they speaking out?
She talks about the challenges faced. She talks about the victims being scared and traumatized, refusing to testify.
Yeah. And part of that was, think about this. This is the kind of what money will do for you, right? Money allows people to get away with things that regular people can't get away with, and allows you to be a bigger bully, right? I've always said, money doesn't change people. It just allows you to be more of who you really are. If Epstein didn't have any money and he was just a run-of-the-mill, mechanic, he'd still be a clown and an idiot. He'd just been in jail a long time ago. But he'd still be a bully. And instead of having other people do his dirty work, he'd had to do it himself. Right? It was like Lance Armstrong. You know why people hate Lance Armstrong? Not because he quote-unquote cheated. It's because of the way he was as a human being towards other people when they came after him. He destroyed their lives. That's what this guy did. He had private detectives and attorneys go after these people one by one, making it so virtually it was impossible. You wanted nothing to do with it, just wanted to go away for it to end. Acosta shouldn't have been involved. But he was. The deal he cut, I wasn't a fan either. But then they talk about the actual negotiations of said deal, because you met with the opposing counsel.
Yes, I met with opposing counsel. It was a breakfast meeting because I was staying at the hotel. It was after,
because you like breakfast.
Not before, and not part of the negotiations. But it was after the agreement had been negotiated.
So, do I think he's eventually going to go? Yes, because I think in this day and age, we want somebody's head. And rather than go after Kashnik, who was the guy that was supposed to go after him, who was the guy that was the lead prosecutor and his assistant, they were too busy going after Rush Limbaugh for 3 years, catching him on those drug issues, rather than this. It's a joke. It is. It's an absolute joke. This whole thing is. He's an evil, bad man. He needs to go away. I think we all know that, and he's going to. And that is good. What happens from here on out? I mean, just remember what's going on now. This was a state thing. They're getting him for federal. Much bigger charges across the board that they're going to get him on. And this is, he will never see the light of day. God willing, he will never see the light of day if indeed he is guilty of all of these things. But it also shows you, again, with the money side of things, the power side of things. Think about all the things we have found out over the last 4, 5, 6 years, right? With the Matt Lauers of the world, with the Harvey Weinsteins of the world, with all of these people, the Kevin Spaceys of the world, the Bill Cosbys of the world. Think about how they lauded their power over everybody. Think about the news networks, right? Roger Ailes and all these people, where the protection came from the top because this person was a cash cow and we could do these kind of things. Think about all of that is what happens. People have the opportunity to do things. They're going to take advantage of it, and they're going to use their resources to protect themselves. Poor white person, poor black person, poor Hispanic person, poor Asian person does something like this. You're pleading yourself out. And a lot of times people end up going to jail because the reality is the person that's representing them, God bless him, right? Defense attorney, appointed by the state. I'm here to represent you. I got 500 of you that I have to represent. What do you got? Well, I don't have any money for investigators to go out and do stuff and to do due diligence and do any of these kind of things and da-da-da-da, but I didn't do it. Here's the reality of it. We go to trial, you're going to go to jail for 15 years. If you plead guilty to it, you're going to go to jail for a year. You'll be out with good behavior, and you can, you may be a felon, but, you'll be out in a year and you'll be on probation. We can cut a deal. What do you think? You can take your chances? Probably not. Money, money, money. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us, California.
Governor Gavin Newsom signing into law a bill that makes low-income adults ages 25 and younger now eligible for California's Medicaid program regardless of their immigration status. The state already covered children no matter if they were in the country legally or not. Not everyone under 25 will get health insurance benefits. It will apply only to those whose income is low enough to qualify. The state expects a plan to cover about 90,000 people and cost taxpayers about $98 million.
It's going to cover a lot more than that because we know that, right? It's going to cover a lot more than that because government's never right with numbers. Their numbers are always kind of like, well, the best case scenario, worst case scenario, it's going to only cost $98 million. It'll probably double or triple of that. And I see a lot of people, they tweet in, they text in, and their thing is, well, this will save taxpayers money because they won't go to the ER. My grandfather and I had to talk about this. He's from Mexico. He came here. He's a citizen now. He and I talk about it. And he's like, yeah, they'll still go to the ER. a lot of times. They will, because they'll wait till the last minute. So that's not going to change. Will it help a little bit? The potential's there, but here's the other thing. How do we know how many people? Right? It's still a guesstimation. Would you be surprised if you wake up a year from now and they're like, oh, by the way, we said 90,000. It was 168,000. And we said 98 million and it was 280 million. That's why I look at the census and I continue to go back to it over and over again and rack my brain with what if it's 35, 40 million people? Because all of the numbers that people try to put together of like, okay, this doesn't really hurt society. It's actually better for society, or it's this, that, and the other. I mean, you can put it all in different formulas and you can put it out there depending on what side you're on. But if you don't know all of the data, how can you come up with something real? You can't. It's just impossible. Right? It's impossible. So and you're never going to get the perfect. But if it turns out to be, and see, California, and like a lot of people, by the time that it's implemented, put in, and the study comes out, it's too late. Nothing ever sunsets when it comes to things like this. You're captive. And it frustrates people. It does. We could change the system. There's plenty of ways of doing it. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody at all wants to do it. I mean, and by that I mean, remember, politics is one of those things where you only need one or two people, as we've seen, to stop everything. And the extremes are able to usually do something like that. The center right, center left, not so much. They want to get stuff done. The extremes, you only need a little bit of the extreme to put everything into, just neutral. But what if it's 38 million, 40 million? What if California looks back in a year and New York looks back because they're on their way to doing the same thing, and they say, well, it's going to cost double or triple what we thought it was going to, and we thought we were going to do 90 or 80 or 120, and it ends up being 300,000. That's frustrating for a lot of people out there. It is. It's frustrating as hell to a lot of people. And it should be. Because nobody wants to get their act together because, quite frankly, they're too busy playing grab ass with one another. Right? And loving the fact that they've got a monopoly on politics. The Democrats and the Republicans have a monopoly on politics. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You could tweet at me. Love hearing from each and every one of you. Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
It was a 2-hour meeting between the Democratic caucus where the House Speaker worked overtime to bring them together, stop the infighting, and move the party to blame Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell for creating a graveyard of Democratic legislation. A source in the room telling ABC News Nancy Pelosi defended leadership's decision to take the compromise on border funding last month as it helps those members who are fighting to keep their districts from flipping back red, and that the value comes in maintaining the majority in the House. She also sniped that some lawmakers, quote, are here to make beautiful pate, but we're making sausage most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to Andy Biggs earlier today, congressman in Arizona, and we were talking. He's like, yeah, well, I was working on, he goes, I went out to dinner with somebody who, he goes, we are the exact opposite. Oil and water, we are, everything is the exact opposite. But we were looking at bipartisan legislation for certain things and getting stuff done when it comes to privacy and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff out there you don't hear. And Mitch McConnell kills a lot of bills. Republican bills as well, by the way. He don't care. If the Democrats really want to know who your biggest problem is, you can win the White House. You could keep the majority in the House. If Mitch McConnell's still running everything, that's the reality. of it. Like I said, it takes one person to do their thing. And she was referring right there, Nancy Pelosi was referring, about the pate compared to sausage to the AOCs of the world. And when I was talking to, I've got several members on both sides of the aisles who are acquaintances and will chat from time to time, and people who work on both sides of the aisle. As we were chatting, they said, for, the Mitch McConnells and the Shumers and the Pelosis, their rise to quote unquote fame and infamy has taken time. This new group of people that have come in particular on the left, they treat everything as it's an appearance. It's a show. If I'm going to make a speech on the floor or in a committee hearing, it is going to be big and bold. They don't want the nuance in the day-to-day and the nuts and bolts. They want the big. It's like a lot of people who love to campaign, they don't like actually doing the job, right? I've always said this. Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and Trump, you ask them, what was your favorite part about it? They'll be like, running. That's it. Being on stage, doing my thing. Because everything else isn't. It's an event. That's why we can't get stuff done. Nobody's serious about stuff. It's a sad thing. You would think people would be serious about stuff, but people aren't serious. They're not serious. Not about getting stuff done in a real way. Because the politics, the monopoly that both these parties have over the people is sad, and the politics will always come before every single one of us.
Taylor Swift might need to calm down after being named the top earning celebrity by Forbes. The Money magazine says the music star pulled in $185 million over the past year, thanks mostly to touring. And apparently that's her best year yet. Second on the Forbes list, cosmetics queen Kylie Jenner with $170 million. Her brother-in-law Kanye West is third with $150 million. Soccer star Lionel Messi and music star Ed Sheeran round out the top five.
She's worth $360 million, and she whines more than anybody out there. She makes Megan Rapinoe look shy, right? And she went last week. It was announced that her music, right, was her catalog for her first record deal and everything was sold for a ton of money, and she just went off and how shameful it was and da-da-da-da. And everybody, of course, oh my God, Taylor's hurt. And then finally the person who purchased it and Big Machine Records who had it, they came out and said, you know what? She needs to just get off her victim high horse. We offered her the opportunity to buy it. She didn't want to. She signed the contract. Her dad owns part of the company. And she just didn't like who got it. That was the big thing. Because everybody, with her, man, I tell you what, I'd be careful dating her. Because you know you're going to get a song written about you and how horrible you are. How horrible you are. She made $185 million, and you want me to feel sorry for you? Hey, let me ask you, here's another question. If she was a big pharma person, how much would I want to see if Bernie's going to talk about the fact that she made $185 million last year, which I don't begrudge her a damn thing. Good for you. Make it, T Swift. Go on, girl. Get it. But still, it's kind of funny, isn't it? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Love hearing from you. Check out the Instagram as well, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Governor Gavin Newsom signing into law a bill that makes low-income adults ages 25 and younger now eligible for California's Medicaid program regardless of their immigration status. The state already covered children no matter if they were in the country legally or not. Not everyone under 25 will get health insurance benefits. It will apply only to those whose income is low enough to qualify. The state expects the plan to cover about 90,000 people and cost taxpayers about $98 million.
But it's going to save us all this money. That's what you'll hear. Save us all this money. Because then they won't use the emergency room. Yeah, they still will. They're not going to take advantage of it. And we expect it to only be about 90,000. And we expect it only to cost us $99 million. Right? Getting to that $100 million scares people. So just go right around $98, $99 million. When has the government ever done anything where they're like, I can't believe how under budget we are? Never. How's that make you feel? Honestly. Well, Chad, it's going to save us a ton of money. It's going to be, again, we're going on numbers that we have no real idea how many people are here. Right? We have no idea, realistically, how many folks are actually in the room. So, who knows what the number might be? And remember, when we were sold this bill of goods by President Obama and everybody, one person said something and was demonized forever as a racist and an awful individual when he screamed something out at the State of the Union. You remember this? Come to find out, he kind of was telling the truth.
That our reform efforts would ensure illegal immigrants. This, too, is false. The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
Oh.
It's not true.
Not true. Well, apparently it is. Apparently it is. Well, Chad, this is California. No, again, New York, California, this is what it's all about. It's frustrating as hell. So we've given them license, right? So people have licenses. They're getting benefits. Well, Chad, they're not getting. No, they are getting benefits. And then we're not done. Now we're going to give them insurance. At what point in time? And we don't know how many people are here because we can't ask the question. Because for whatever reason, certain things. Oh, it's frustrating. Soak it up for a second. Soak it up. I'm frustrated. You know, July 1st came, got a new gas tax, right? New tax here, new fee there, new this, new that. Frustration levels. When is enough enough? Right? For all the, hey, we love the middle class and we need to take care of the middle class. We need to do all this stuff for the middle class. When does the government give them a break? Well, it's doing the right thing. Frustration level. Immigration is a joke. It's not going to get fixed anytime soon because we don't have either party is willing to do their part when it comes to immigration in a real way. It's frustrating as hell. It is. Instead of talking about a wall, which we're not, now we're talking about what? Well, what's going on at the border, how the kids are being treated, what's happening there, how the concentration camps and kids are being raped every day and they're being told they have to sleep on the floor and the narrative is this and the narrative is that. And we're not talking about the larger issue of why we're in a position like this and why we're completely outmanned in a position like this because we're not set up to deal with something like this.
We're very much still in a crisis mode, but what we see in June is that our strategy is working. The president's engagement with Mexico, the deal to enforce immigration security on their southern border, to partner with us on tackling transnational criminal organizations, that's clearly having an impact on the flow.
Yeah. But still over 100,000 people, right? Still over 100,000 people. That's a lot. 1.2 million people a year, if that was the pace it was going at. That's the people that come and decide to surrender or we catch. That's not the people we don't catch. That's not the people that overstayed their visas. That's not any of that. That's a lot. Yeah, absolutely is a lot.
So the effort with Mexico has made a real impact in the last 4 weeks, as has the supplemental resources we needed to save the situation for children moving to HHS custody and out of border stations. I'm happy to report today, Chris, that we have under 200 unaccompanied children in custody, and only a few of them are staying with Border Patrol stations over 72 hours, and usually those are medical cases. That's because HHS now has the funding, the supplemental funding from Congress to create additional bed space and move those kids out to a more appropriate setting.
Oh, you don't even have beds. That's what I hear. There's no beds at all. Zero.
The punishment allegation is this. This is from a 16-year-old boy. Client stated that the water that he was given, the water tasted like chlorine. Client disclosed that there were about 30 minors in the detention center as well. The other minors started to complain about the food and water that was being provided to them. Client stated that the minors started protesting about it, and because of it, the officers took out all of the sleeping mats.
Oh, well, we had beds, right, from Wayfair, but you guys said Wayfair can't make beds for them, so what are we supposed to do? We're going to carry them around? Chad, you're being a jerk. No. The reality is we're not set up for this. It's not set up to be a nursery. It's not set up to be a middle school or a high school. It's not set up for what is going on. The system is broken. The game is over. It's time to fix what's broken. I blame both sides, because they've played the game. They've taken the money from special interests. They've gone out and pitched their dreams. They've demonized the other side. But at some point in time, it's time to fix it. Don't bring me a problem. Bring me a solution. Fix it across the board. Fix the asylum laws. Get enough funding that we need to, that we could house these people. Stop catch and release, which is ridiculous. And let's find out who's here. But that's racist. Some people's like, Trump wants to make America white again. Well, I listen to a lot of people out there. Do I think they want to make America not America again? Or America ever? We have people running for president of the United States. Think about this. This is earlier. This is Beto, right? Yeah, he's still around.
This country was founded on white supremacy, and every single institution and structure that we have in our country still reflects the legacy of slavery and segregation and Jim Crow and suppression, even in our democracy.
It's all bad. Everything's bad. It's all bad. It's all bad. And magically, by the way, if he became president, all of that stuff goes away. Right? Everything goes away. It's, oh, yeah, now we're on the path. It's all gone away. None of that stuff mattered before. Only when this person was in charge or that person was in charge. And this. Tell you what, it's frustrating. It is so frustrating. Because we have the means to do this. We have the capability of doing this. This isn't a hard fix. The fix is easy. The problem is politics. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. The U.S. women's national team celebrating today. Yeah, they won. They're doing their thing. They want their cashola.
They are fighting for equality for women, and it's a great opportunity for my girls. I get choked up about it because I think it's really important to show them that it's okay to speak out about what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I got nothing against that. And I'm said because I get people, oh, Chad, I can't believe you don't want them to have equal pay. And it's the same thing with all this stuff. No, here's the thing. I look at the entire picture. I don't look at one snapshot of something. I take into account everything. Not just what you want in front. That is a perfect bumper sticker, slogan, or meme. You got to look at everything. And that includes, the lies that were told, oh, they only in 13 cents on a dollar. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I thought it was 75 cents. Well, now it's different over here. And then there's because everybody, and this is anything from immigration, the right does it, the left does it. What do they want? They want the truth as they see it. That's what politics has become now. That's why cable news. I talked to Congressman David Schweikert last night from Arizona. And what did he say? He said, look, cable news has a business model now that is all about, for all the stuff you see about division and the president and this, that, and the other, they live on it. They want this model. That's why people like Ocasio-Cortez gets the kind of pub that she does, because she is what? She's a protagonist. She can be inflammatory. She's not afraid to come down on her own side. She's a disruptor. And we'll watch disruptors. Now, they may not get stuff done, but we'll pay attention to it more than the person that's muddling along, just doing their thing. More than that person. And they're going to rub some people the wrong way. They're going to cause some anger. But they're interesting. And that's what we want nowadays, apparently. That's what matters more. We want style over substance. Let me tell you something. The media is so excited. They have AOC and Ilhan Omar and they're so excited by this because they now have people that should Trump lose and Biden, let's say, let's be real, he's going to be, a Biden presidency isn't going to be rocking and rolling. But they now have people that will at least give them things to talk about and be interesting. Give them sound bites. I said today, I was on a show earlier today, I said the reality is Bill Belichick, amazing football coach, the greatest football coach of all time. He's an awful interview. And say, guys, I think we're just focusing on the game this week. Rex Ryan, a disaster. Give you every soundbite you want. Crazy fun. Right? Crazy fun. That's what the media likes. I'm going to the crazy because I know what the crazy is going to give me. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You could tweet at us. You know what's crazy? You not helping Wounded Paw. I'm doing my part. You need to do your part. You don't know who they are. WoundedPawProject.org. Every day, thousands of dogs are being what? Euthanized. Why? Because people don't take care of their pets, or they, it's just ridiculous. And this organization came together because a person saw a need, a person who saw a need because he was wounded serving for our country. And in the struggles he had, it was a dog that gave him so much. What the organization WoundedPawProject.org does is they rescue these dogs. And they realize that 20 veterans a day commit suicide. What they do is they rescue these dogs, train these dogs to be service dogs, and then get these shelter dogs that are now service dogs to the veterans, first responders, and families. And it changes a life. Saving a paw to save a life. It is incredible. They need your help, though. A donation, whether it's cash or maybe you've got an extra car, truck, RV, or boat, you're going to get a tax-deductible gift, and it's going to change lives. Check everything out at WoundedPawProject.org or call them directly. 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729 or WoundedPawProject.org. Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
Most of the time, flatulence can lead to embarrassing situations. Well, one red-faced situation led an alleged criminal right into the hands of Missouri police. On Facebook, Clay County, Missouri Sheriff's Department posted about police along with a canine unit searching for an alleged criminal who was wanted for alleged possession of a controlled substance. A spokesperson with the Sheriff's Department told Fox 2 St. Louis the culprit tried to hide from police, but the suspect passed gas so loud it gave away their hiding spot. Fox News reports authorities wouldn't divulge the identity of the suspect, but after an embarrassing situation like this, it might be for the best. We've got to give props to Liberty PD for using their senses to sniff him out, the department added. Sniff him out? Oh, that poor, poor dog.
Aww. Is that embarrassing? You guys remember the movie Step Brothers?
Unless you're like the weirdest guys ever and I don't see it. Great.
How'd you get caught, man? Were you on the most wanted list? No, it's gas. Oh, it's awful. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Some of you are tweeting at us. Some of you angry about California. I'd never live in California. There, people are crazy. It's, again, you know, you look at immigration and you look at illegal immigration and you look at the way that this thing is being handled, like a lot of things in politics, how it's not being handled, how it's being completely ignored, how it's just a shame. And I said it earlier and I tweeted it out. You know, this is a monopoly, looks like. It's the Republicans and Democrats. That's a monopoly. That is a true monopoly. A third party, and it doesn't have to be big. Remember, a third party doesn't have to be equal. It could absolutely be 15, 20% and do enough damage to the structure that they would have to compromise. Compromise is not a bad word. It's negotiating. Right? That's all it is. We're just negotiating. Nothing else. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm just negotiating, trying to get the best deal possible for my constituents, for the American people, and we bring it all together. Man, a third party would be great. A real third party. 15, 20%. You don't need a ton of seats, right? Maybe 50 seats in the House, 8 seats in the Senate, 10 seats. Unsettle everybody. And think about the power that you would have running a party and being a part of that, where you know, like around the globe, where you get to the point where they got to come to you to get stuff done a lot of times. Wouldn't that be nice? Where you can go, look, I see a little bit on your side. I see a little bit on your side. Can we find some compromise and come together? Like an army. Literally, it'd be like going to mediation. That's what they should call themselves. The mediation party. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show. That's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Instagram us as well, kids. We like the gram. Have a bunch of pictures tomorrow of all the critters that are part of my furry and scaly family, because tomorrow's National Pet Day. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So we're feeling pretty good about where we are right now. We think we stand an excellent chance not only to win the Democratic nomination, but to defeat the most dangerous president in modern American history.
I ask people that. I think, you really think he's the most dangerous American president? Like, what do you think is going to happen? We have so many safeguards, right? What do you think's going to happen? I'm curious. Just like, I've always wondered that. Like, okay, so the most dangerous man in the world, I've heard that. He's like, I'm curious as to, like, what do you really, like the cops, the guy said, I'm nervous. Can you kick these cops out of the Starbucks? That's what he sounded like in my mind. So, somebody will probably say something horrible. And so, what did you think the cops were going to do to you in a Starbucks? Sitting there on 4th of July drinking. Like, what do you think Donald Trump's really going to do? I'm just curious. Do you think he's going to, he just sits around all day going, I'm ready to launch these nuclear weapons. They took the damn key away from me. I can't find it. Or he's like, I misplaced it. Or I gave it to Putin. I mean, what do you think he's going to do? I'm curious. You know, there's never any real good answers because everything is a bumper slogan or a meme. Because it sounds great to say, but it's not a reality. There's no reality to it. He's not going to war. He's not. I remember, God, how many times, this is it. Trump's president now. I'm moving. And you weren't moving because the countries that you want to move to, you can't afford and they don't want you. Secondly, you said, it's it. I mean, America may be done. He could blow stuff up. A year later, we're like, well, we're still here, but I'm waiting for it. Most dangerous man alive in the history of mankind. More deadly than the Ebola virus. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Epstein. And what do you do with Acosta? So you've got this guy here, right? And we're going to paint some of the picture of the whole picture of Alex Acosta, the labor secretary, what went on. But at some point in time, he's going to have to go. Even if the reality is he shouldn't have been involved in the case with Epstein, this billionaire/millionaire, we're not quite sure how much money he's got, financer who was obviously a scumbag, who liked young girls, 14, 15, did horrible things with them. And not just one or two. I mean, this guy is prolific from his island in St. John's to Florida, to his place in Manhattan. And the fact that, there was all these games played behind the scene. If you take anything away from this, remember, if you have the green, then you've got the means to get out of a lot of things that other people would never get out of. Because you can court power and influence by those who may punish you. And you may know things. This guy was such a scumbag that when he got his group together, when all of this stuff was going down, he went out and hired private investigators and people to go and to intimidate and to investigate not just the people that were investigating, but the kids and their families themselves. That's the kind of person this is. That's power. That is. And Alex Acosta is going to have to pay the price for it. Should he have done more? Yes. Should he have even been involved? No. There was another person that should have prosecuted him and decided, Barry Krishner, who decided, I'm not going to do this after he found out who he was. He was the person who had the case. He was the person who said, hey, you know what? He was the state attorney and then his assistant. They started to just ignore the emails and everything. They had all of this stuff. And originally, they were going to cut a deal with this guy, this scumbag, for solicitation of prostitution. Acosta at least got him some jail time, albeit not much.
Instead of prosecuting a predator and serial sex trafficker of children, Acosta chose to let him off easy.
Should never have been involved. He's going to pay the price. Court of public opinion, you're guilty. You are guilty. And he is a scumbag. But Acosta, you know what? This is the justice. People always say, well, there's justice. There's a lot of different justice systems, right? Are there different systems for black and white? You could point to that, but really, the big difference is green, rich and poor. If you have the money, much like with taxes, right? Think of it like taxes. If you've got the cash, then you've got the people that you can hire to make sure you keep more of your cash. To find those things that are out there, you can call them loopholes, whatever you want. They're legal. And to use those things for the betterment of you. If you have an attorney that is great and not somebody that is working on 400 cases and you're just another number and another face that the state has said you've got to defend this person, And this person just wants to get you off his docket or her docket because he's looking, just going, oh, God, just let's plead this thing out. And let's move on. When you're like, I didn't do it. Yeah, but let me tell you all the bad things that could happen if you try to take this to court. And, and instead what happens is a lot of times they just, right, I take the best deal I can get. Or somebody like this guy, I know the guy that is the guy that is the guy. I have golfed. I have hung out. I have played. I know these people. They'll take care of me because I've taken care of them. And then I'm going to hire other people, and my other people are going to be bigger and more powerful. And even if the evidence is against me is strong, it doesn't matter because we will crush them. It's a green thing. Something that's not talked about and needs to be talked about in more ways. It does. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Speaking of Shumer, is out doing his thing because Obamacare, as I try to tell everybody, is not health care. The ACA is not. It is a law. Right? That's what it is. It is a law. So it's taxes and all that is what it is. And it was written to withstand challenge after challenge in the court system, not so much to bring you closer to your health care provider and yourself.
Don't let President Trump fool you, America. Donald Trump and the Republicans want to take away your health care. We Democrats will keep fighting tooth and nail to protect Americans' health care for as long as it takes.
Okay. But you want to give everybody health care. You know what's funny is that he says that. It's like they want to take away your health care. And you're like, well, hold on a second. Your entire party of people who are running for president, the majority of them, the vast majority of them, want to take away all of our health care and then replace it with something else that people may not want. Well, it's different. It's different. And this is the game that is being played. But this is the thing right now that needs to be talked about. This is what people are talking about, is health care. Like, I want to see real meaningful talk on healthcare and how we get to a position. But much like the immigration debate, much like a lot of other things, we won't get there because the powers that be aren't really ready to get rid of this problem because this problem means politics and politics means money and power. There's a word out there, there's a phrase out there, it's called rent seeking. Rent seeking. What rent seeking is, and it's really interesting. If you don't know what it is this is how big corporations, crony capitalism, whatever you want to call it, this is how it works, is rent seeking. How can I stop my competition? And the insurance business and the medical industry has played a lot of these games, and both sides have been pretty happy to accept a lot of stuff from people. Money. So they can court that power. So they can ask for more regulations. So they can make things harder for people to jump into the world, to slow down competition. People don't understand that. It's crazy. But that's a lot of what this is. If you have more choice, you're going to get what you want at a price that will fit you. If you have less choice and you're captive, and you may have a few choices, but they can play the game all day to make sure that everybody is doing okay in their world, even if it affects negatively you. That's why I love deregulation. People say, well, that's just wrong and it's evil. No, there's certain things that need to be regulated in a certain way. But just know this, when they're pushing for regulations, it's big corporations that are pushing for it more often than not because they know how the game is played. They're playing the rent-seeking game. They're going to go out, they're going to pay their rent, they're going to occupy that space and make sure that nobody else gets to occupy the space with them. It's like the cell phone industry. Only so much bandwidth. Internet industry. So what do? They want it locked down. They don't want a bunch of it. They don't want the free market. Could you imagine if there was 30 cell phone providers? 40, 50 real ones? What would that be like? They'd be battling all day. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You tweet at us. It's a problem. You know what? I agree a lot. You know, like the politics and the money. But which came first? Doesn't matter because they both love each other. They both love each other. Politics is where the power is. And the power wants money, and the money wants power. Look, I can't fix the money and power thing, but I can fix your teeth. And by me, I mean Candid. Teeth are going to look great. Imagine by Christmas having straighter, whiter, brighter teeth without getting adult braces. I'm gonna throw it out there. It's not a good look. Adult braces are not a good look, right? Custom clear aligners from Candid. Great look. Whiter, brighter teeth in about 6 months. 65% less. Or adult braces. Here's what Candid does. They have orthodontists licensed in your state. They're going to create a treatment plan for you. They're going to send out a 3D preview of what your final results are going to look like, and away you go. They're going to create custom clear aligners sent directly to you. You're never going to go inside of an orthodontist office. Never going to happen. Everything's from the comfort of your home. It's amazing, and you're going to save thousands upon thousands of dollars. 65% less than braces. Right now, big discount. How do you get it? Simple and easy. Go to candidco.com/Benson. That's candidco.com/Benson. Candidco.com/Benson for your whiter, brighter, straighter teeth. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
When I first heard that, I thought, oh, maybe that's something like you had started that chant for the crowd, but it was actually the crowd.
I mean, I think we knew that this win, if we were able to win, was going to be bigger than soccer. But that moment, I think, just solidified everything. It was like this World Cup win is so much more than what was on the field. It seems like one of those just sort of iconic turning points in history.
Megan Rapinoe right there. She was on with Anderson Cooper last night. And it's, again, I'm stoked that the women won. They had their big ticker tape parade today, and that was good for them. And where it goes from here, I think that's a very important thing. We need to, they talk about investment. We need to invest. We need to invest in the game all around. But here's a perfect example of what we were just talking about, right? Here's just a snapshot of craziness, an example of politics and money and baloney. If I want to get a coaching, you have to have licenses to coach in certain levels of club, all the way through up until, professional. You have to have a license and all of these things. You have to go through all of these things. In Europe, it's virtually free. It costs you thousands upon thousands of dollars here to get your license. This is a perfect example of just the insanity of stuff that we do and the money and stuff. We need to invest, and we have to invest across the board. And I think U.S. soccer and a lot of our things need to look at the way that stuff is done and say, okay, how do we do it better? How do we make it more accessible for everybody? Because I'll tell you, here's something that people don't realize is it's not cheap. These girls all played top club. High school soccer means nothing. They played top club. It's not a cheap sport. Is it expensive as hockey or horseback riding? No. But it's still pretty damn expensive. It really is. And we need to figure out, in Europe, you're not doing that. You're not. But at the same time, in Europe, they'll find you and develop you younger. They'll bring you into the professional squads at a young age. Ajax, which is the big, Dutch legendary club that coined the phrase total football, which is how they, you learn everything. They'll take you at 6 years old, 7 years old. They don't want you if you're 9 and 10. They want you that young. They want to teach you. Not costing you a penny. Cost you. Stuff's expensive. It's crazy. So we forget about this. You know, there's a certain height of privilege. I can guarantee you the Taiwanese girls weren't having the opportunities these girls have. And I think we forget that they're on the, you know, while they scream victims at times, they're anything but. But no, they deserve equal pay in certain circumstances. And there's other circumstances that have nothing to do with soccer here in America and all to do with how it's paid out by other people. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You want to be involved. You're going to have an event soon. I think this Friday?
Yes.
What is it?
I am not the one who put this together. I am just a mother who was horrified when I learned about the conditions and all of the detention centers, over 200 in the United States, all of the statistics of how many children are there alone, the kind of trauma that puts on a child's psyche, on their heart. It's like a trauma tattoo that will never go away. It seems as though the Trump administration, cruelty is the point.
Oh, so it's just the Trump administration? Cruelty's the point. Okay, let me ask you the question, Rosie. It's Rosie O'Donnell right there talking to Chris Cuomo. And I ask this to people all over the place that deal with this, and people who are pro-immigrant, want the open borders. You know, some are just, you know, they want it to be better run than it is now, and I agree, it absolutely should be. And then there's some out there that are just no, we should just let people through kind of things. But I say, well, what do we do? How do we handle this? Nobody ever gives you a real answer. It's like yesterday we talked to Chuck Collins, right? Who's, you know, is all about, you know, he wants rich people to give freely and he doesn't want to, you know, I mean, and I asked, what's the fair taxation? What's fair? Nobody ever gives you a real answer. Well, I'm not going to win a progressive. I just want an answer. What do you think? I think I'll give you my answer. We fixed the asylum laws. It's that simple. Wherever you're coming from to come here, the first country you get to, you have to apply for asylum in that country to try to reach here. We expand the amount of people in these countries to help them process, but we in catch and release. That's it. I mean, it's not a hard thing. Well, Chad, then that's not very nice. I mean, my God, we talked yesterday. Italy's thinking about building a wall. And here's the thing. If you want to allow people to come here for economic opportunities, they want economic asylum, then you need to change the laws, because that's not what's on the book now. So the laws are being ignored. Why do we even have them? Things can get sorted out if people are willing to politically put aside their differences, which is hard to do in a tribalism kind of world that we live in today, and address what's in front of them. How do we fix this? Again, no matter how many times I say that, it will never be perfect. Politicians will never fix your life. It is never going to be perfect, whatever they do. There's going to be compromise. Not everybody's going to win. But come on. I'll give you an answer. This is what we do. We fix the asylum laws. That's simple. Do we need a wall? Guess what? If you fix the laws, you don't need any wall. If you actually enforce them. If you do none of those, I don't care how big the wall is you build. Because remember, there's only a certain amount of space that you're going to build this wall. There'll still be huge gaps in it on Native American reservations. On the reservations like the Tohono O'odham out here in Arizona, you just walk right through. Their land stretches from our side of the border into Mexico. We can patrol there, but it's tough. We can't build anything there. They don't allow us to put in roads in most cases. They make it. So let's fix the law, start enforcing them, go from there. Little things like that. Expand certain things, more judges. If you want to fix the asylum law in certain ways where you think, hey, there are some people that should be here. There are, if you want to, how about this too? Let's throw this out there. Here's another thing I would do, right? Because I'm not an idiot and I don't want to play the game. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I would expand the work visa program in a much bigger way. Make it simpler and easy to find help to and put people in the countries like Guatemala, like Honduras, like El Salvador, like Mexico, where people have the opportunity, maybe even to the point where they could come, get a visa for a day or 2 or 3 or 4 or a week, come over, go, turn around, leave. Those things that we can do. The politics of it is prohibiting us.
Is not a criminal matter.
No,
it's
it is
a
not.
civil matter.
It is.
And 98% of the people who leave there come back for their court cases.
Yes.
98.
No, not even close. It's a bunch of baloney. It is. It is. And remember, even if you come here today and you plan to go back, you're going to set a life up here. You're going to be released into our country. So here you are in our country for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, depending on where you are before you even get a hearing. You've built up a life. That's your first hearing. Maybe you show up. The likelihood of you showing up to your first hearing is greater than if you appeal it, which is what ends up happening, because that's when people stop showing up, because that's when the rent's due, if you will. It's crazy. It is. We are so much better than this in the way that we could be handling this. And we look clumsy. We look foolish. At times we look hateful. And I don't think it's any of those things. I think the clumsiness and the unprepared way that we've been dealing with this for the last several months and years, and the way that we've ignored the problem, that's on us. Again, being unprepared. I was talking to producer Anthony today. I said, okay, Anthony, here's what we need to be doing. How do we start building and looking for facilities? Because we know it seems to be almost just like it's summer and winter, fall and spring, night and day, that this is a cycle that we will start to see surges, especially with kids in certain times of the year. How do we position ourselves to be in a better situation so next year, if there's a surge of migrant children that come here, that we're better prepared for it? We're still being reactionary. We don't think forward. Sad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Oh, man. Cities and states, they love your money.
The city of Dunedin, Florida, wants to take this man's home.
Because I was tardy cutting the grass.
Jim Ficken's mom died, so he went to South Carolina to take care of her estate. City officials then started fining Ficken $500 a day because his grass had grown longer than 10 inches. Such fines add up.
This is a letter from the city attorney demanding $24,454.
Now the fine's up to $30,000.
$30,000. So 30,000 had to leave, was fined 30 grand, $500 a day for grass. Not the HOA, the city.
That's asinine.
Ficken's neighbor can't believe he was fined so much.
Just for grass.
Because Ficken doesn't have $30,000, the city says it will foreclose on his home to collect the fine.
I was shocked.
The town says you're kind of a public nuisance.
I got everything fixed and taken care of.
But you only get it fixed after they send warning after warning. The neighbors complain.
I guess I'm kind of a slob.
Why don't you just pay the fine?
$30,000. Do you have $30,000 lying around?
Yeah, Stossel probably does. I'm not going to lie to you. John Stossel does. But And why I'm talking about this is it's so interesting. This is, again, it goes back to the love of government for your money, right? Doesn't matter if it's at the federal level and Texas and this, that, and the other. We're going to do this, that, and the other. It is wanted. It is needed. It is. They're looking on a daily basis from California to Florida, from Maine to Arizona, and everywhere in between. Municipalities, cities, little rural communities. They're looking for some way, shape, or form to try to part you. They're like a casino. How can I part you with your money in a way that we make it legal and stack the deck for us?
Lawyer Ari Bargles defending Ficken against Dunedin.
The city has gone nuclear. $500 per day for the violation of having tall grass, and now he's facing the loss of his home. They could have done what their own ordinances permit them to do, which is hire a lawn service to come out and mow the grass and send Jim a bill for $150, but they didn't do that, and that's because they prioritize revenue collection.
They want the money.
It's pretty apparent that code enforcement is a major cash cow for the city of Dunedin.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Super cash cow. Super cash cow. For big communities, small communities, fees, this, that, and the other. I mean, everybody's looking to make an extra buck here. Everybody's looking to charge you a little something here. Everybody's looking for something. I just go to the store. Like, I went and bought a battery last year. I needed a new battery. And I was in California, and I'm looking at the battery. And I go down, and California has all these fees on it that they're charging me for something. They're charging me for disposal of a battery that I'm not even going to dispose in their state. That will be years away before. I mean, they're looking for something. Always something.
11 years ago, Dunedin collected $34,000 in fine. Last year, $1.3 million.
I got violated for a lawnmower in my yard. They violated me for a hole the size of a quarter in my stucco. They find people that they can pick on, and then they keep picking on them.
Dunedin put a lien on her house. They say she owes them $32,000.
I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I've had because of the city of Dunedin.
The city is just a bunch of bullies, and they expect people not to stand up to them, because to stand up to them requires expensive legal help.
Yeah. Because like everything else, they know they got more money than you do. And it's your money that they got more money of to fight you. It's nuts. It's crazy. It's lunacy. These are the things, though, that should drive everybody crazy. Think about that. $34,000 to $1.2 million. You don't think it's a cash cow? You don't? That's, it's like we're going to, places like California and New York now and Vancouver. I saw Vancouver now is up in Washington State and in Canada. They're all looking at ways to, hey, you bought a house. You may be there once or twice a month or a year. And if you're not, we're going to fine you for not being there. What? My stuff, I bought it. You're going to fine me for not being in my home, which I purchased? Yeah. Even if it's maintained and taken care of, doesn't matter. Again, they love your money. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Also, Instagram us as well, kids. The Instagram, baby. So good. You know what I'm saying? The gram. I go on the gram. I'm always amazed what people put out there. It's again, I always wonder, what do you do? Do you have a job? It's like, this your job? You're an Instagram model? For some of it, I see. But for others, there's a movie coming out called Jawline about this kid who's like in this it's a documentary. He wants to be a YouTube star. And he's in I think it's West Virginia, and it's poor, and he's very positive, and he's trying to do all these things. But I mean, you could tell it's just it's just an awful place to live, where it looks cloudy every day, right? Where you start out so far behind the eight ball. And it's amazing to watch, what this kid's trying to go through to become famous, and YouTube and all of these things that he's trying to do. And it's, and they've got guys who are like hit makers for people. I like this kid. I don't like this kid. This one guy's like, look, man, I could take anybody who's got a pretty face and a decent personality and who's young, and I can get him 1 million, 2 million, 5 million followers. No, boom, and make him millions. He's got to find out what it is. And I'm like, damn, what kind of power. But it's just want to be famous. It's crazy. It's an interesting thing. It's called Jawlines. Check it out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter. MyPillow. Sleep better, sleep more comfortable, sleep deeper. I've had my MyPillow for, going on, 2-3 years? It's just been incredible. I sleep 5 to 6 hours a day. I work a lot. I love to work. Before, I would sleep maybe 4 hours, 3 hours. It would never be really good sleep. With MyPillow, it is solid sleep. Absolutely solid. My head hits the pillow and out I go. And they've got a no-brainer right now for my listeners. 60-day money-back guarantee. It's the same incredible pillow, 2 premium pillows, less than $70. You're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. And again, free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Put it to the test. Go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson, or call 800-983-4975. Use the promo code Benson. 2 premium pillows, less than $70, free shipping right to your house. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Plea deal this.
Mueller, arrest me.
Chad will trade you 2 perjury charges for 1 collusion and throw in a reduced charge of obstruction for free.
Yeah, I'd do that.
For just listening to The Chad Benson Show.
They stand for something bigger than soccer, and having that happen and be on a world stage. I have 3 daughters, and it's just nice to see somebody who works hard and comes together as a team.
Yeah. It is. And the U.S. national team had their big ticker tape parade today and celebration. They're going on the tour. I've seen them all over the talk shows, and they'll be on a few more. And then they're going to go out and they're going to play some games across the country. Everybody's going to have a chance to go see them. And it's good. And they should soak it up and capitalize on it. Every possible way you can capitalize on it. Just grab a hold of it. Get as much marketing money. Get as much sponsorship money. Get yours. Zero problems with that. And the pay equality thing, that's going to, the mediator and the arbitrator are going to figure that out. And they'll go from there. Right? They're going to figure that out. And it's good that we have the conversation. We do. Because I think, people say, you're kind of hard. I'm not hard on them. In the sense that, look, you want honesty. People don't want honesty. It's crazy. Right? I was just reading this article about, fat shaming, and doctors having trouble telling the truth to people. And I'm like, and it's amazing. Right? So wait a minute. We doctors, you're afraid to tell people this. You're trying to figure out a way. Like yesterday we talked about the fact that you've got professors asking if they're afraid of their students because they don't want to challenge anything they think, because if they do, they're going to come after them. And it's insane. It's like, do you want to stand by your convictions? Even if it means what? That socially you're going to become a pariah? And I call it social blackmail. Even if you're right, we'll still destroy your life because we don't like it. Sad but true. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Useless fact of the day, eh? Oh, for sure. In 2009, Ontario, Canada passed a law called the Apology Act, because they say the Canadians say sorry so much that it can no longer be used as an admission of guilt, eh? Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, for sure, eh? Have a great rest of your hump day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.